This is Meet the Problem Solvers. Welcome back. It's 2020. I'm Judy Perlman, your host. Very excited to be here and very excited to introduce a new friend and colleague, Alina Lopez Thomas. Alina founded an organization called G.R.O.W.N, Greater Resource of Women Networks. She's going to talk us all through what that's all about. Let me just say she serves as creative director for this entrepreneurial organization. She's got a lot of ideas, and she also has her own TV show. So we're going to bounce back and forth on a few different things here. Welcome, Alina.
Well, thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
It's really great to be here.
Thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's nice to be on the other side.
It is nice, right. Now you get to be the interviewee.
Yes.
And it's nice that we kind of were put together by someone who said, you have to meet this woman.
Yes.
So that was a nice vibe,
yes.
too. Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree.
So put us in the G.R.O.W.N picture. Tell us what you are, where you're going, where you've been.
Greater Resource of Women Networks. I'm going to say that it's amazing to me, of course, because I created it, but it was created for all women and all women that have gone through some sort of process of discovery for themselves when it comes to changing their career path. Or not just changing their career path, but it's also about the fact that a woman being able to look at themselves and say, you know what, I don't have to stay in one spot. I have transferable skills. So I'm really big on the transferable skills aspect of G.R.O.W.N. And it really came out of something out of pain. I mean, it sounds weird, but it came out of pain. I worked in state government for 21 years. And with that 21 years, I gained just a plethora of experience. But with that also came the day that I actually was told that I was fired. Wow. And I always say when I'm giving a presentation, it's 21 years and 2 months, not 2 days in a month. It was, you know, a whole long time, and I mourned it.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. You know, and I was going to say, it's interesting, the way we frame this show up usually is sort of the problem. What is the problem? And you just said it.
I jumped right into the problem.
No, it's great. The pain of either a choice that is not your choice, but is foisted on you.
Yes.
Or the problem for other people who may be trapped in a job that is not taking them where they want to be, letting them be who they want to be, and how do they find their way forward? So you're unpacking that problem, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
And Judy, it's amazing because really at the time of creating G.R.O.W.N, my husband and I was just coming back from whitewater rafting. And that was, you know, an experience that we wanted to have. It was our anniversary. We're coming home, and I was already going through this mourning process. And I said to him, I said, listen, I'm grown. And he said, yeah, you're a grown-ass woman. And out of that came Greater Resource of Women Networks. It just sort of fell into the lap, and we just sort of took it and just sort of ran with it. I say we, but it's really me. But he was there to support me, and that was big.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a major life change. I mean, I can think of it as an identity change. You thought of yourself in one way for 21 years and 2 months.
Yes.
You were that person, you lived that role.
Yes.
And then when it's over, it's like, wait a second, excuse me. I mean, I got divorced, an amiable divorce back in 2005. I will say it was the same kind of thing of like, wait, I have to now really make a lot of adjustments in how I think about who I am and what I do in the world. And yeah, it takes a while. It is kind of a transformation.
Yes, it is a transformation. And I think sometimes we are under the impression that when we're going through something that it's just us. And what I realized from creating G.R.O.W.N is I would go to somebody and I would tell these women my story, and I'm just telling them all about it, and they said, I went through that too. And I said, you went through this? Well, something similar. I was pushed out of something. And I said, wow. I said, this is not just an Alina issue. This is a woman type of an issue.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just me.
Yeah, yep. And it seems to me that what you have done with G.R.O.W.N, with your vision of it, is sort of healed yourself by healing and offering all these cool things to other women. Your ideas about what you did, and probably, if I were to be honest, there are probably some things you did early in your process that you don't necessarily think were perfect.
Yes, absolutely.
And so it's sharing your learning. I mean,
Yes.
we were saying before the show, I'm really impressed that you say on your website, I was fired.
Yes.
I mean, you don't pull a lot of punches. You put your stuff out there. And part of that is, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you have to try stuff.
Yes.
You have to own it if it goes well. You have to, and really own it and say, like, I did this. I'm this cool person. And you have to own it if it didn't go well.
Right.
That's how you do it.
And it's interesting because part of the reason why I had to say it like that, you're fired, is because I wanted people to understand that you can be in something for a very long time. You can actually think it's yours. But the reality is that we're replaceable.
Yep.
You know,
Someone
people
else.
are- yes,
Yeah.
and unless you truly own it, and that was the entrepreneurial piece of things. I'm like, I want to actually own something that's mine, and the only one that can push me out or downfall it is me.
Yeah.
You know, not because of somebody else's understanding of something or lack of understanding of something. So, I mean, that's another aspect of it too.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we go back to sort of explore the problem of women and entrepreneurship, what are some of the pitfalls or the barriers that lie there for women? And I know you work a lot with women of color. I imagine
Yes.
that's, so talk us through your assessment, your analysis of all of that.
I think that one of the first barriers is actually the individual themselves and not really knowing who you are or knowing your worth, as they say. And so therefore, sometimes you don't even realize that all of those skills that you've had, maybe raising a family, maybe working in that 9 to 5, or maybe that creative jewelry stuff that you was doing that you've been constantly giving away, is actually something that you can actually monetize and move forward into a real business. And so sometimes we get in our own way, I think. And I think women tend to do that a lot. I definitely think there's a progression going on here. I mean, who cannot say that? We're moving forward.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, hey, you know, the new age is all about women. And that's a beautiful thing because we're fabulous.
I read a book last year called Playing Big, and it's really a wonderful book, basically about women. Stop giving yourself all these reasons why you can't do stuff. And there was a whole chapter called Hiding, and all the ways that we hide. And the first one was so resonant for me. They talked about designing at the whiteboard. And that is me. Like, I can come up with the coolest approach, framework, concept, this and that, and keep working that. And what she says in this book is, until you talk to the people you're trying to change or affect or support, and see how your ideas resonate with them, and get back from them what they really want, you're just at the whiteboard. It's not going anywhere. And so here we are. So I have a freaking TV show.
Right, there you
and
go.
a bunch of other stuff. Yeah.
There you go.
And did I mention before that Alina also has her own TV show in Boston?
You did, yes.
So we'll talk about that a little bit more.
Yes.
I'm curious when we get into sort of solutions, how that feeds into your view of yourself as the leader and yeah.
Yes.
But so you said the first barrier for women really is ourselves. And I totally get that, whether it's hiding or it's like, oh, I couldn't do that. I need a PhD in that. It's like, excuse me.
It's fear a lot of times. You have, you know, sometimes we have this fear that we're not going to succeed or we're going to fail. And then one of the biggest things that I'm always talking about is the fact that I think sometimes we compete too much. So it's, you know, Judy, you have this wonderful show, Meet the Problem Solvers, but I have a show, and well, how do I beat over Judy? Instead of saying, let's collaborate. Come on, let's talk about this. How can we do this together and conquer the world?
Right. In fact, in conversation about this show, we were like, we're both like seriously into networking.
Yes,
Let's
we
have
are.
a networking activity after this.
Exactly.
I mean, right, because I think you and I have both found our way past that,
Yeah.
zero-sum thing.
Right.
If you win, I lose.
Exactly.
We're both winning. We've enjoyed each other's company so far, and we might have a nice little gathering
Hey, you never
to bring
know.
our folks together.
I think we actually should.
Yeah.
Because that's what actually makes things so much better, because now you're getting a full diversity
Yeah.
of people coming in. And I tell people that about G.R.O.W.N too. G.R.O.W.N is, for me, I always say to people, I don't care if you're purple. G.R.O.W.N is about the woman.
Yeah.
And my thing is, I really want everybody to be a part of it. To be a part of this, because we have so many grown women out there that are just doing amazing things, and the world needs to see it.
So let's talk a little bit more in just a second about what you do with your
Yes.
grown women. This is Meet the Problem Solvers. I'm Judy Perlman. Alina Lopez Thomas has crossed over from Boston to join us here in Cambridge for a lively conversation about entrepreneurship and risk-taking and the reality of living your life, being in your life, even if it's given you some curveballs.
There you go.
Yeah.
Got to do it.
So tell us a little bit more about how you meet people, what you do with them, and sort of what this whole thing is for you and for them.
So the way that I initially set up G.R.O.W.N, because it's constantly growing and developing, which makes sense, it's grown. But
I feel very grown right now.
you are
I feel
grown. Are you
I'm
kidding
grown,
me?
yeah.
You're a grown woman. For sure. But the way that it was set up was, initially it was all about individuals. And I would literally have meetings with women who were attracted to me, because that's a part of it, attracted to my message. And we would sit and meet and basically do a mind dump on business planning. What I found is that a lot of times we jump into businesses, we jump into, I want to do this business, that business, and you don't have a business plan. You have no roadmap. So I was that person you can come to, and let's just pull out the roadmap. Let's figure out how this can actually happen. It then kind of gotten a little bit bigger in my mind, and I started adding different pieces to it because I got excited.
Yeah.
Down to I want ceramic mugs, like everything I want to have on G.R.O.W.N. But it built into let's do G.R.O.W.N and G.R.O.W.N? What did I say?
G.R.O.W.N?
G.R.O.W.N? Wrong word.
You did say group, but that's okay. Let's do group. I think you were going to group. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. See, this is the
I
cool
did say
thing
I'm
about
grown.
live. You're grown, and we're groping for words. And
Groping for words,
those are
I
the
love
joys
that.
of live TV.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I sat here and we had a conversation with someone, and for like 5 minutes we were going back and forth. And I finally said, "Oh," and she said, "Oh," and it was like, okay, that's on live TV.
That's on live TV.
Yeah, it's on
Everybody
the
can see
internet
it.
forever.
Hey, there you go.
But anyway, so you were going sort of one person at a time with
Yes,
their
and then I
business
turned it
plan.
into group.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I really tried to pull in the resource piece, and that's where G.R.O.W.N Talk Media came about. Okay, and G.R.O.W.N Talk Media is basically very similar to what you do. It's public access. I was able to get introduced to it. And then I decided I was going to pull G.R.O.W.N completely into that. So now it's all about me featuring other women entrepreneurs, them giving their successes and challenges out to the listening audience. And based upon that, I consider that my marketing piece. And I do it in television, radio, and I also host events as well.
That's very cool. That's very cool. And so people watch your show, they find out who you are.
I hope they watch it.
Yeah, this is a little hard. With public access TV, it's a little by guess and by God,
Yeah,
right?
all of two people.
All of two people. I know I have one friend who watches often.
Okay.
One
Hi,
friend.
friend.
Hi there.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I threw you off.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm just like talk us through an interaction with someone. Somebody you don't meet, haven't met before, finds their way to you and says, "Alina, I think some of what you're doing is really relevant to me. How can we connect?"
The majority of people, because the other thing that I didn't mention is that G.R.O.W.N is target marketed. It's target marketed towards women that are between the ages of 35 and 70. And those are the women that come with a lot of experience. a lot of things that they've done, challenges, and also are going through things like career change, retirement, and different things like that. So a lot of the people that I've come across or worked with, a lot of them are going through retirement, and they just have a burning passion that, you know, when I retire, I am definitely going to do this. I'm going to be that caterer when I retire. But the question is, how do I put all of that into a real plan? And literally, I used to have, it's funny that you said a wipe-off board. Is that what you called it?
Designing at the whiteboard.
Yeah, it's whiteboard, yeah.
Whiteboard, yeah.
Yeah, the whiteboard. I literally would have people come into my office space, because at one point in time I was at an incubator. And I would have them come in, and I would literally draw out what it was they were telling me. And then at the very end, I'd give them a picture of it and say, this is for you. And, you know, hopefully they left with at least a piece of the map, but, you know, they were able to at least navigate their mind. I call it mind dumping, because sometimes we have so much in our mind, you know, I'm sure you can relate to that. Your mind is like constantly on speed, but you got to dump it somewhere.
Yeah. Yep, and you're like a facilitator. You're
Yes.
someone to help say, here's some strategy, here's some, but here, have you thought about this? And yeah, you can't do this alone. I mean,
No.
people try to do it alone. And what's interesting is what I think you're saying is, even working one-on-one, you came to realize that that has some limitations. And once you kind of take those constraints off and you let a bunch of women talk to each other, it's less controlled, but it's probably a lot more fun and synergy. Like,
Yes.
just people are just coming up with cool ideas.
Yes, and also too, there are, you know, there are so many women with different career paths that they've been in, or they're subject matter experts in. So we have those women, especially because with G.R.O.W.N, it's really about helping the startups. And so we need those women that are the lawyers. We need those accountants. We need those bookkeepers, people in insurance, people in real estate. And those are the kind of women that I've come across. And now I just interview those women, and people that are watching or, you know, part of my following can say, you know what, I was looking for somebody to do X, Y, Z. And you know what, I think I remember this person that Alina had on her show. And you get a resource right there.
Yep, and so you are, people are they're understanding things newly right then and there from listening to that conversation, and they're also saying, I can trace that person back.
Yes.
Yeah, so the resource part is a big part of the solution.
Ooh,
Tell
yes.
us what so resources of one of those overused words. So let's break it down, what it means to Alina and what it means to G.R.O.W.N.
Okay, so the resource aspect of it is more about building that collaboration. And what I'm saying to grown women out there is that G.R.O.W.N basically has people that have been vetted and who are very skilled and are just amazing people that you should make a connection with. They should be your resources. So not just a basic, you know, yellow pages type thing, but something that's bigger than that. This is something that if you have a serious business idea that you are trying to grow or something, then you need to look inside this resource. And, you know, my goal, is to really make G.R.O.W.N membership. Okay, so that literally you can go on, and I think I mentioned this to you, and you can say, well, I need somebody to do media. Oh my goodness, there's Judy Perlman. Click
Right.
it on, Judy, you know.
Yeah, it's a really cool idea.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think the more that people get to know what you're doing, the more that will just evolve.
Yes.
Right now, it's probably all in your head.
Yes.
And it has to be.
Yeah, some of it's on website,
Oh.
but it's not solidified. It needs to just grow a little more. And it's not new. It's not new though, Judy. You know everything is duplicatable. I mean, somebody out there is probably watching and saying, I did that 10 years ago. Well, here's the difference. Like I said, there's enough people out there. And everybody is attracted to who they're attracted to. And the main difference is that the people that would be part of this membership are going to all be vetted, and they're all people that are grown.
And motivated. And grown, yeah.
And
it reminds me of something that my older daughter is part of Art Girl Army. which is like young women, probably older women too, in the arts of all different kinds
Yes.
in this big resourced network group. So when I was like, hey, maybe I should do a TV show, hey, maybe I should have social media on there, one of the things I looked at was asking my daughter, how do I get to Art Girl Army to find somebody in the Boston area who's willing to do this?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly
so
what
really
it's about.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly what it's about.
So I wanted to ask you one more question before we go into sort of like what are our takeaways, because I think one of the things that you said is you're in an interesting conundrum right now. You're very skilled. You're a skilled manager. You have a job right now that you took so you could have some stability.
Yes.
And now they're like, oh, we want you. We want to pull you in and promote you. And that's an interesting conundrum for women entrepreneurs. So tell us a little bit about what that's like for you.
Yeah, well, it's, for me, it's something that has to happen right now. However,
Look at your body language.
I know.
Yeah.
Did you see me go down?
Yeah, I saw you go down. That's
Because,
not where you're.
No, it's not. It's not the
enliven you.
passion.
Yeah.
No, my
Right.
passion is greater resource of women networks.
Yeah.
I want to get this to the place where we're just all, that it's fully functional. It's fully. It has to be monetized, of course, because you have to live.
Yeah.
It's not about the money, money, money. It's about the fact that we have to live. But also, the main piece of it is that I want to help startups build and build with a whole group of people.
And look at your face.
I know, I lit up, didn't I?
Lit up. Yeah.
I know. When I think we talked about this, but I was in public sector for 21 years. So I'm very familiar with the accountability and responsibility that means. And sometimes it can be very difficult to go back into the workforce. It definitely has its challenges to answer to people, to somebody say to you, you have 30 minutes to eat your lunch. And I'm like, 30 minutes to eat my lunch? I'm an entrepreneur.
Excuse me.
Excuse me.
Right.
Excuse me, I want a coffee. Well, you can go in about 10 minutes. What do you mean 10 minutes? I want a coffee. So it's difficult for me. It's difficult for me, but I do recognize something, and I think we talked about this. Sometimes, and I appreciate you giving me this tip, you said sometimes you do things in increments. Yeah. So you do it for what you need it for, and you still, on the sideline, do your other piece here to meet your end goal. And I think that that's very important, and that's something definitely that I'm always thinking about, because G.R.O.W.N never sleeps. G.R.O.W.N is my brand, G.R.O.W.N is me. Yeah. So that's how I look at it. Yeah.
And the idea of phasing things is something that I learned in my consulting career about 10 years ago when I started consulting. And it just opens up all these options when it's not like we've got to do this, but maybe like, well, we've got to do this piece because it's really time sensitive, but maybe this other piece will make more sense after we get through. So the idea of sort of phasing is a very powerful one, I have found. And probably in growing an entrepreneurial world, it's a big deal. Yes. So I'm looking at the clock. Let's just say, meet the problem solvers here. Judy Perlman, Alina Lopez Thomas. We're having a fun conversation about entrepreneurship, being a woman, trying to do this all, doing it in communication, in community. Yes. And in communication. Yes. And through connection. So what are our takeaways? What do we want our guests to, not our guests, our watchers and our listeners to understand and think about themselves, about helping people? I don't know. What do you think is a takeaway here?
I would definitely say the first takeaway is what I mentioned in the very beginning, which is to know yourself, know your worth, value what it is that you want to do. If you have a passion and a drive and you know that's where you should be, then go for it. The first step is sort of stepping out there and recognizing that challenges come, failures may happen, but only you have the ability to kind of shape it and also to move yourself forward. And don't, you can be afraid, but also recognize that support is good, along with the fact that mentors are excellent. I'm still looking for my mentor. Any mentors? Just looking for that mentor. And I think that's probably the biggest thing is, and try different things and collaborate.
And just the most amazing thing that you said was like, believe in yourself. Yes. And look within. And the thing that makes you go like this, you have to look at that, and the thing that makes you go like that, you have to be real about that. And you may have to do that. I mean, we all have obligations.
Yes.
There may be a time that you have to do that thing that is not thrilling to you.
Right.
But know that you also want, we get one life.
Yes.
You have the chance to try other stuff.
Right.
And I think the other thing that I think you do is that you do some of this part-time. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. That's the other thing, is you can be growing your jewelry business while you're
Working in the jewelry store. Yeah, that's definitely. I mean, it happens. You sometimes, like we talked about, sometimes you just have to make do, or you do something for a particular reason.
Yeah.
So.
And so, believe in yourself. Reach out to other people.
Yes.
Be willing to say, I think I screwed something up, but I want to try to redo it. So, and be real about that.
And also, too, let go. Let go, because you can go through a mourning process of something, but eventually you have to let it go and start over. I mean, we're in the year 2020 now.
Yeah, right. If you're only looking backwards, where's your forward?
There you go.
Who are you going to be?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, Alina, this has been really fun.
Yes, it has been. I'm so glad you invited me.
This has been really fun, and this continues to be Meet the Problem Solvers. I'm your host, of course. We really would like to invite you to visit our website, meettheproblemsolvers.com, where you can go on and look at all of the previous episodes. And after we started doing podcasts, you can also listen to a majority of our interviews as podcasts. You can also email us with your ideas, your critiques. I'd like to be a guest. I'd like to suggest a guest. I'd like to suggest an issue. So please do that, and you can also enjoy us on all of these other things: Facebook, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. So I did it. I made the slide come on. I did it right.
That's good. I'm glad.
But I think you leave me with some hope for 2020, for myself to take some risks.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I've had fun. It's been nice.
Good. So what? Okay, we don't have much time, and I don't want to cut you off.
Okay.
What do you want to leave our guests with, our listeners with, as their aspiration?
Embrace your power. Just embrace your power. You have the ability to move something forward. Do it.
Great. And don't waste that chance.
No.
Believe in yourself.
Believe in yourself.
Yeah.
I can and I will.
Yep. Beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
It's really been fun.
Yes. Yeah.
All right.